Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our deep dive into this radical feminist book. Let's see what she has to say. Let's see what I can say and hash it out from there. Let's begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The market in intimacy has butchered romance and sold it back to us in bloodless, bite-sized pieces. And the dating market is where most of us actually encounter the commodity logic of sex in the flesh. Okay, so commodity logic of intimacy. She said bloodless. So you want there to be some juicy blood in that romance? What are you doing? Vampire talks here? Alright. She doesn't like it that the dating market is commodified with the logic of sex. However, in the past sections, she was saying about how women should walk, talk, and act like they like to get effed. She explained that she gives it up by the third date. She said that she's been friend-zoned, that men don't take her seriously, how women should not be ashamed of their sexuality. So, again, another contradiction. You can't... Okay, let me put it this way. She gets mad if a husband expects intimacy, but she gives it up to men who have not pledged her any form of commitment. You just can't make this up. However, frigid is a very... Like, when someone's frigid, they're not warm at all. Alright? And there's degrees. I would be disgusted if I had someone who was like an octopus, just constantly like, whoa, give some space, man. No touchy. Kind of like Cusco in The Emperor's New Groove. Someone who is too clingy is quite bizarre. So when someone uses the word frigid, just make sure you yourself are examining how this person has expressed how they show intimate feelings. Okay. Frigid and joyless, the dating game. I would say in the past maybe it was more frigid and formal. Now it's really hot and heavy. It's like, oh, I like you, I swiped an app. Hello, meet me here. I'm not on the market, but frigid is not the correct word, I would say, for this time period, in the age of the OnlyFans epidemic, where divorces are highest that they've ever been, where single-parent homes are extremely high. If men were so frigid in dating, why are women opening their legs to these men? That's the question. Joyless. So if it's really joyless and frigid, why are all these women getting STDs? Why are they having all these abortions if it's really that horrible? However, exhausting and unsatisfying straight relationships become, again, you see here, unsatisfying straight relationships. What I really resent about liberals is that they can sit here and attack heterosexuals, but if you say that people in a sodomite relationship don't have problems with cocaine or materialism, adultery, fornications, and their behavior. Like, you can point out problems in lesbians' relationships with domestic violence. Look up the data on that, right? How many gays are getting divorced? Let's look at it. How many are doing surrogacy and really participating in a horrible thing? Let's examine that, okay? We can do that all day. If you get to attack heterosexuals who continue the species and who are the majority, then don't get mad when people point the finger at you. There is nothing unsatisfying about a heterosexual relationship at all. And this is the problem when you have an atheist Rainbow Mafia agent who resents how men rejected her. I wonder, I should look up what this woman looks like. I don't know what she looks like. But there is this energy of, I'm not hot, so I have to be very angry at straight men who rejected me. And women who get scorned by religious men, like they get rejected by someone with an actual religious standard of female behavior, these women spiral out and go on a rampage against heterosexual religious men. She won't go after Jewish men, right? Orthodox Hasidic Jews. She's not going after Hindu men. She's not going after Buddhist men. She's only attacking white heterosexual Christian males. And I really think, okay, you want to do that? Everyone else is up for fair game. But she will deny how the majority of relationships are heterosexual on this planet. And there are literally millions of women through time who have also enjoyed having their handsome, masculine, heterosexual husbands around. It's what I really hate about these women is there's tons of straight men in the military, in the police force, in the firefighter force doing these hard jobs. When you see a very feminine, bougie gay man in the fashion industry, if you tell him go on the front lines in Ukraine, he doesn't want, most of them, they don't want to do that. Like a gay guy from Italy, he's getting Botox in his lips, and he's overly plucking his eyebrows, and he's getting his hair dyed blonde or something. Do you think he really wants to go in the trenches and get all dirty and get become an amputee? Do you think he wants that? So each person has their place in the functioning of society. Heterosexual men are often in these really difficult labor jobs, whereas gay men often go into banking, into fashion, home design, even architecture. They're really tuned into making things pretty. And some women have complained that it was the gay men who made all the French models and models in general anorexic. That they see women in a different way than heterosexual men, and how heterosexual men would design a video game character would be different than how the gay man would design it, because the gay man is attracted to men and the anus. He's not attracted to the female body, the curves, appreciating a woman's body, her tone, her sensuality. That's not something that makes him aroused. They have totally different mindsets. So for her to hate on pregnant women, right? Because what does this mean, straight relationships? These are women who are getting pregnant. Now, I think sperm banks and surrogacy should be banned. IVF should be banned. If you can't have kids, you shouldn't have them. Babies are not commodities. Buying a baby is human trafficking. You don't get to just buy a baby and use them as a prop and deny them that real mother connection, okay? And it's inhumane, but that's a side tangent. But the point is that if you can't respect straight relationships, you don't respect pregnancy, you don't respect mother and child relations. Because let's put it this way. You're two lesbians, you adopt. You didn't get pregnant by that woman. And if you allowed a man to fertilize you, you still enjoyed that action because you were getting aroused. I mean, lesbians use, let's not be too graphic here, but they use a male phallus in order to still feel pleasure. And they still buy male organs to use for their intimacy. So we could have a serious discussion of, are you truly disgusted by men? Because I've noticed some things here. Lesbians are getting mad at men who are cross-dressers, and how they won't date, like lesbians won't date trans women, some of them. They call themselves TERFs. They don't want a man who has got plastic surgery to look like a woman but still has his tallywhacker. And you would think at first, wait a minute, so you like actual women, but you buy a fake phallus and then use it with each other, but you won't be with a male who looks like a woman who has the male phallus. This really, and this is like such a mind warping of how unsatisfying their lives are, because they got to do a lot more work. I've seen tons of people doing these Reddit posts. I don't go on Reddit, but people who post those Reddit posts on Twitter, where it's like someone will come out as trans and then a man will come out as trans, and how they can't find partners who want to be with them and stuff. So, if anything, you can see that the trans women have the hardest time being satisfied in their relationships and getting dates. And women who get their arm skin removed and then stitch that arm flesh to their body, they also have, when they try to become trans men, they have a difficult time finding someone to date them and marry them as well. Because that's just the way it is. But gay men, I heard Milo Yiannopoulos once say, it was more fun when it was taboo because they liked to be naughty and there was sort of a darkness, a dirtiness to it. He claims to, not be gay anymore, but he still lives with his husband. And when he would talk about the behavior and the lifestyle, you're like, that's a very different behavior than a heterosexual man would be in an Islamic marriage. Lower your gaze, stay loyal to your wives or wife, do your duty to your maker, do your prayers, give charity. Like, it's a totally different dynamic. No intoxicants. There's so much to that conversation for her to just say unsatisfying. So she's trying to convince straight women, your marriage sucks. Leave. Like, imagine if you were married to someone who looked like Brad Pitt or Habib, and let's say they were as good as the Prophet, and then telling a woman like that, that's an unsatisfying marriage, and instead you should go with a woman and live with a woman. And you're not attracted to that, And imagine you have a healthy, happy marriage, you had 5 kids, your husband, he goes to work, he's sober, mashallah, he's on his religion, and then this feminist comes and says that your relationship is unsatisfying because you're heterosexual and you don't want to go make out with a woman, or you don't want to date a bisexual man. Do you see like the really nasty behavior of this feminist? I hope I'm really painting the picture clear for you. She's attacked the nuclear family, attacked religion. She has made it clear she's trying to undermine the nuclear family, which destabilizes civilizations. She hates the patriarchy. Alright, she is encouraging sexual promiscuity. So we're not dealing with a moral person here. So examine how she doesn't explain the virtues of 2 dudes marrying. And I think she's attacking mothers here. How so? Because mothers struggle when they're pregnant and the first 2 years after. With their hormones, the marriages are tested. That's usually the most difficult part, that 3 years. And I think she's trying to get women to leave their husbands and be single moms on welfare who hook up with women and bisexual men. I think that's what she's pitching here. Because child rearing is a trial. But that doesn't mean you don't enter into relationships with heterosexual men, because for 3 years there'll be some nights where you don't get enough sleep and you might not get as many breaks as you like. So for me, when I read Unsatisfying Straight Relationships and how she calls it frigid, joyless, exhausting, I'm like, what are you really attacking here? Because honestly, I do think a lot of feminists hate motherhood. I even saw a feminist the other day on X/Twitter say that a baby doesn't have the right to breastfeed from its mother because the mom hasn't given consent. And how sick is that mindset? I'm weaning my little one, and it's emotional for me because it's such a strong bond. And in the Quran, if you recall, a woman is allowed to breastfeed up for 2 years, and the man is supposed to provide. In Surah Al-Baqarah, I believe it's in Surah Al-Baqarah. It's one of my favorite ayats, where it shows that we women have a right to breastfeed, and it's a normal, beautiful thing, and there's nothing dirty about it and wrong. But these feminists will twist everything about female nature, and to the point where they glorify abortion, hate breastfeeding, and then somehow think it's better for a woman to be a single mom who used a sperm bank instead of being in a marriage. These are very broken individuals. The more I dig into them, these are women who have been scorned by men. They can't see any good in men, and they can't see their own personality problems that are preventing them from finding a good mate. They're very stuck in this victim mentality. And this feminist here who we're reading, she's a good picture of that type of mindset. The cultural horror of being alone, single, independent is urgent enough to make many of us afraid to question the rules of the game. Okay, cultural horror of being alone. Loneliness. I've seen a lot of reports. I've searched some screenshots in the past. I have some more on my phone that I have waiting there for when I want to use them, of people reporting a loneliness epidemic. And I just shared one the other day on the community tab of how many people in old folks home don't get regular visitors. So let's talk about isolation. And I forget the name of that very famous feminist, but if you look it up, famous feminist dies in apartment alone, something like that. I forget her name. She's not important. But she died alone, and she didn't have no one to check on her, and her corpse is just rotting on her apartment. I mean, think about that. So there is a natural horror to not having a tribe and community, and living with your husband is a way to ensure that someone's going to check on you. Marry the right guy. And if you don't get the right one, keep on trying. You got to keep on keeping on. And then single, independent. I admire women who, when their life falls apart, they survive. Nothing wrong with that. However, to pretend that a quiet house that's got no visitors, no one to talk to, and your social life is all social media isn't hard is disingenuous. Being independent only lasts while your health is good. Once you start to get health problems, when you start popping up more around 35, 40 as you start to age, and your bones become more frail, then you really, like, if you're really ill and there's no one there to give you soup, no one there to help you to the bathroom, you can't afford a nurse, then you start seeing that you're not as strong as you thought. When I had my C-section, I needed help. I needed a community. And pretending that your friends have to come and help you as being the same as with your husband doing it, it's not the same, because your friends are not obligated to do that for you. Your husband is, because you're married. There's a special spiritual bond with your mate, and also a cultural one. Like, I'm not gonna ask my friends to do certain things for me, and nor will I do that for them. I'm not their nanny. However, I will do countless of other things, but there's a line of how much I can give them in terms of energy, because I have to take care of me and mine first, as they say. Then whatever energy is left over, that's that I can utilize. Is urgent enough to make many of us afraid to question the rules of the game. The scarcity mentality has infected cultural attitudes to love and sex, drenching them in panic and desperation. Okay, scarcity mentality. I love the expression, there's always more fish in the sea, there's a lot of fish in the ocean. This is true, but there is also a lot of salmon with parasites. Okay? You gotta be careful. And when it comes to intimacy, yes, it ain't hard to get. However, you need to watch out, because there are wicked people in the world. And the mouse that always chases the cheese is going to end up in my trap. It's not right. Right? You got to be careful. You got to use your brain. I saw a funny comic the other day where these fishes were gathered, and he's pointing, like a teacher fish, he's pointing to the chalkboard, and there's a picture of an earthworm on a hook, and he says, now ask yourself, what is a earthworm doing in the middle of the ocean? And this is like a very witty comic, because it makes the fish stop and question, how is a worm that is terrestrial, right, in terms of being in the terrain on a garden, doing in the middle of this lake? It's not native to this area. Obviously, this isn't good. Critically thinking before you go for that worm will stop the hook from going in your mouth and stop you from being on my sashimi plate. You see what I mean? So, careful. Careful. Yeah, there's a lot of intimacy out there, but is it the earthworm on the hook? Be careful. So many diseases out there. So many people who will end your life if you leave them. Be careful. And what you think is love it love or is it infatuation? You see? This woman is crazy. You should be desperate for some things, but you should also be a little bit of, if it happens, it happened. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm still going to try. And I'm going to say alhamdulillah for everything. We become like supermarket shoppers on the day before a hurricane, grabbing as much as we can of whatever looks edible, shoving and shouting at each other as we clear the shelves. Well, that's quite different, isn't it? Because at the supermarket, the supply chains are going to be broken. The truck's going to stop. So, yeah, you better take what you can get while the getting's good. That's just how it is. In zombie apocalypses, in any of those films, are with people just queuing up and like, yeah, we're all gonna be law and order, super organized. No. It's chaos, it's dog eat dog, it's one for all. Let's do it. It's time to survive. That's why destabilization is dangerous. She advocates for destabilizing the homes and the security systems for kids, because having two parents who care about you and are in a loving relationship and who fear the devil and love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the best system for kids. Not, my mom went and slept with the guy a day ago, and then my mom went and slept with the woman, and my mom went and slept with the horse, and my mom is on OnlyFans, and, I don't see her, and she's high all the time, and I'm just sitting here watching cartoons again while my mom's out being a whore, and my dad's out, snorting cocaine off a hooker's butt. You see what I mean? These type of atheistic, hedonistic lifestyles make it hard for kids and actually create a survivalist mentality, because the child sees there's no security in this world. So they operate on a more of a fight or flight system, I'd argue. And so her comparing, like, you can't just, okay, in a supermarket and you're going through a panic, you cannot just walk around la 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 la, unless you're a hoarder and you already got like a supply bunker hidden somewhere, then you can chill. But if you're like, hey, a storm's coming, supply chains could be broken, the streets might get flooded, electricity might go out, we gotta stock up because we put everything off to the last minute, and we gotta get what we can get while the getting's good. First aid kits, bottled waters, diapers, you name it, pain pills in case someone gets ill. We gotta get it. We gotta get it now. There's a time of urgency in life, and then there's a time where you can be a dandelion, just strolling around, dilly-dallying, and not seeing the pressing time, right? If there's a dinner rush, you cannot just be moving like it's Sunday brunch. You gotta move. You gotta go. We gotta step it up, step it up. So when it comes to women's fertility and her beauty, there's nothing wrong with telling women try to be married by at least 25. Men, I saw Peter Schiff on PBD podcast. I don't know how old he is. I think he's 50 something. Man, looking good for his age. And I'm thinking they're like, he's older than me probably by like 20 years. And if I was single and someone like that approached me, would I be with them? And I'm like, yeah, who cares? If he's got stability, he's still attractive enough. And I thought to myself, again, like, that's so different. Men and women, we just different. But if it's just so shocking to think that some women will think a 28-year-old male will want to date someone like Joanne Rivers. It doesn't go that way. And it can, no doubt, but it's not something that you can necessarily bet on. It can be rare. But when you look at Macron and his woman, honk honk, you look at that and you're like, what is going on here? What is going on? Or Chuck Schumer's wife. When you're like, huh? I'm not saying Chuck Schumer's handsome, but sometimes people can be with some women who are, you're looking at them and you're like, huh? I'm not saying it's all about getting someone who looks like a Victoria's Secret model, but I am saying that age and beauty does change. And being like Whitney Cummings and constantly getting plastic surgery and Botox, it doesn't really work because you end up looking really strange like Madonna. Like Madonna has done so much work to her face that she almost looks like a different type of entity. And you're like, what have you done to yourself? It doesn't work. And so you gotta get your relationship as a woman in your youth. I'm not saying you can't remarry at 45, 50. But if you're a woman who's 40, you should be dating 60. You see, you want to be the younger one in the relationship. That's my opinion. You can get mad at it, but men and women just age differently, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. And there's nothing wrong with getting old, but just think. So this analogy of hers, it doesn't work. There is scarcity of good men, scarcity of safe people who don't have diseases. All right. So she's not really, she's not doing the quality over quantity argument. She's doing quantity. There's a scarcity of good men, which is why I think Islam is wise for allowing polygamy. You got a good husband. He's sober, mashallah, handsome, good sperm count. He's stoic. He's got checks all the boxes, and you want to be the second, third, fourth wife? Boom, safe, secured. All right, that's a good thing. Again, these feminists to me are just really backwards, so backwards. We forget until it's too late that we are competing among other things to be allowed to do more work. That the role of wife, girlfriend, or mother is not something women can relax into. Okay, so what's your solution here? No, being a wife is difficult. Being a husband is difficult. Okay, you love this woman, she's really attractive, and she's going to age. You're going to age, but there's a famous line in the film Anna Karenina, one of my favorite films. The husband cheats on his wife, they have a lot of children together, and he says something like, her hair, her looks, and he's like just explaining how she's still beautiful, but she's lost that youthfulness that motherhood can kind of take from you because sleep deprivation, stress. But that's just how it is, okay? But you can see where he's sort of complaining about she's not what she once was, and women are still coming at him, and he made a mistake, and he doesn't want to lose his wife and children. And then Anna Karenina convinces him and her to, fix it, work together, they stay together, right? I love that. I have that book right here. The film is one of my favorites. There's so much lessons there. But being a man and having your wife change with each child is hard for them, okay? I think that's often why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises the men who never cheat, who stay good, well, if you cheat and repent, you're going to be forgiven, inshallah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stoning for adultery, right? So imagine if we had that, a lot of people would have been ended. But my point is, Men were rewarded in paradise with the xual, who, from what we know, they're never going to get old. And women, when we go to paradise, I don't think we get old either. Allah knows best. But the fact that men will be rewarded with attractive new creations shows you that men like that, and that it is a trial for them to stay with someone who's lost that, and it's part of the human process. Just like it's super hard for a woman to stay with a man who keeps doing adultery, or he doesn't have money, or he's also let go of his body, or he can't please her in bed. You know, we all have our struggles, right? So you cannot relax at all on earth. You have moments, but peace is always temporary. And I have a security mindset, and I look at earth now more and more as a Pandora. Like, you know, in the movie Avatar, when the humans are on this hostile planet and they recognize they're on a hostile planet, and that to me is a great way to look at earth. From the weather, I mean, it can flood, tornadoes, lightning causing wildfires, the freaking ground shakes, you're on the ocean, oh my goodness, you're now caught in a storm, there goes your boat, Titanic. I mean, diseases, bugs, crop failure. I mean, humans, the horrible things we do to each other. A lion wants to eat me. You know, think about it. Earth is a place you can't really ever relax. And the more you look into nature, you're like, animals don't relax either. A bird is always on the go. Think about that. You go see a bird, this bird has to survive by like flyway, because those birds who stayed ended up on my dinner table, right? A duck who is literally just sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm hungry. Got it. Now you're gonna eat. Chickens can run fast, but you get them nice and fat, they run a little slower. You know? So think about it. The horse that runs the fastest doesn't get the saddle. Alright? You gotta get up and go. Every gazelle on the savannah that can't run, well, hyenas right there, vultures right there. You know, think about it. You can't relax at all on earth. Each chapter of your life has new challenges, and that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained for us, so don't fear it. Being a mother is hard, especially if you have terrible children. But you'll have moments of relief, but you'll have moments of severe testing. And that's why we're called to have gracious patience. Alright? It doesn't mean you throw your hands in the air and say, you know, I'm never going to get married and have kids because I don't want to be a wife and I don't want to be a mom because it's just, I can't relax. No. You gotta launch. You gotta take on that mountain. You gotta climb that peak. You can't live life always on safe mode. There is risk in everything we do in life. Every time you leave your door, hit by a car, carjacked, you can get robbed, a little tree can fall on you. You never know. You never know. So don't take this, what she's saying, to heart, I'd argue. That there is a great deal of effort and energy involved that remains invisible because it's still part of the taxonomy of love. Yeah, effort? Oh, shocker. A marriage takes effort. Who knew? Who knew this? Shocker. Being a mom takes effort and energy. If you don't give any effort and energy to your kids, you have a street rat. You have a hoodlum. A kid out there being bad and being a nuisance, peeing in the street, being a total little shithead, stomping on the neighbor's flowers, because you're not guiding that kid. I can't be bothered. I'm gonna go nap. And it's like, what? You're not watching your kid. Your kid is a menace to society because you didn't put any effort or energy. And sorry, maybe she's like, oh, buy a dog instead. Okay, how many pit bulls have mauled people because the owners didn't put the effort and energy into training the dog? To the point where the UK has banned them. Hello, woman. No matter what you do, you're gonna have to train at something. You buy a parrot, you gotta train it to do your best not to bite. You got a cat, try to train a cat, good luck. But you can train them at least to go in the litter box. Further, if you have a dog, you have to train that. You have to train that critter. You just have to do it. You got a horse, you should have it so you can put it to work so it can earn its keep because they eat so much grain and drink so much water. You know? You got a car, you're going to have to practice driving. Everything takes effort and energy. You got to do a job, effort and energy. No matter what. Just scale it. See where you can put your energy, where you can put yourself. You'll be alright. Alright? I swear, this woman is like super bitter and disgruntled, but very nihilistic. Very nihilistic. When you start to understand love as a form of work, necessary work, work without which the fabric of humanity unravels like wool, the work of care, of attention, of attending to the needs of another person, you begin to see the inequity at the heart of all the old love songs. Oh my gosh. Did she really just say that? Inequity. Inequity. So, love as a form of work. Necessary work. Work without which the fabric of humanity unravels. The work of care. The work of attention. Work of attending the needs of another person. Okay, this person, I think, is shockingly selfish. I don't think I've ever read a book where I thought to myself, this person is the purest form of selfishness, and she doesn't have a charitable heart. This literally is making me understand why some Christian women say you're to be a helpmeet for your husband, to serve your husband, and why in Islam you hear talking about a submissive good wife is a really good thing to have in your life. Because love is something that you do, and when you give attention to something, you can form a bond of love with it. I love my child, I attend to my child's need. I want my child to eat good, that means I gotta go slice that garlic, I gotta go boil that sauce, stir that polenta. Okay, I want to make them have some good memories, so we're gonna make brownies. And you see what I'm saying? It takes work and effort. My husband buys the good ingredients, I make the good ingredients, my kids eat the food, I wash the dishes. It is a team effort, and we watch our kids, inshallah, have good health and not be Burger King kids. And that takes attention to detail. It's a labor of love, okay? It makes them healthier, their gut biome, and there's no inequality there. There's no inequity. My husband gotta go to work, I gotta take time. It's about time. Well, what should I be doing instead of caring for my kids? You see, and if I didn't have kids, I would literally just probably be volunteering, being around a lot of animals, being in nature constantly, and still doing videos like this. So, it's strange to me how she was constantly framing virtues of being a woman in terms of a wife and mother as something, as a horrific burden with no light at the end of the tunnel. She seems to be someone who doesn't want to struggle at all. Like, she's living in this fantasy realm of wanting a smooth life at every turn. It's strange to me. She whines more than I think someone who would probably live in the 14th century, with no indoor plumbing, and where there isn't even a Tylenol for your period. I mean, come on now. Come on. The work of love, including sexual, erotic love, was not, and often still not, work that most women can choose freely. No. You choose who you have intimacy with. Okay? You choose who you marry. A prostitute can say yes or no to the customer. So you're trying to tell me a wife doesn't have the capacity to say, you know what, honey, I'm not in the mood. But she does know you married this man. Maybe you don't want to approach him all the time, but when he approaches you, you both can put in the swan dance and get it done. Right? It's not that big of a deal. And as you get older and your body becomes less physically able, you have your conversations, you find something else to do, go on a cruise, whatever. It's strange to me. She's really now even attacking love. It's like she attacks straight relationships, attacking love. I mean, it's... She said that love is a depressing idea. She's depressed by the dating market, she says. But then is encouraging women to essentially not take on the role of being a wife and mother because they can't relax into it and it's too much effort and energy. You know, it's strange. It really is, I gotta tell you. The work of love was not and is not work where women are allowed to negotiate for protection. Well, women do have rights in a relationship, and even in Islam, women have rights over their husbands and husbands have rights over their women. And what do you mean by allowed to negotiate for protection? Why, if my man doesn't pay the bills, I'm going to defer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on how I'm going to treat this man. Okay? Right? Am I doing my rights? And what voluntary things can I cut off? Alright? So, he pays bills, takes care of us, gives spending money, doesn't create chaos in the home, things are peaceful. Alright. Reciprocate that in kind. What I'll do, you see? Protect is to provide. Now, if an intruder comes in, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to get it done. But I'll also be there too. Because while he's maybe punching him, I'll grab me a pointy thing and help out. You know, as best I can. Because I'm not just going to stand there and urinate on myself while someone tries to harm my provider. And if I can get an angle in while the man's distracted, I'm going to take that angle. Right? That's just the way it works. As long as the children are safe, and if you have a Second Amendment, and that guy's in a clear shot, and you're not going to get your husband, take the shot. Right? So, there's a way to where you can help protect as well. And we're to guard our husband's property, so I'm going to lock things, keep an eye out, not answer the door for strangers, not invite anyone in our home unless he's here. You see? So, I protect in a different way, he protects in a different way, but if I'm failing as a wife, I have to make sure that I keep doing good, because why would someone want to protect me if I don't treat them right? If I don't treat someone right, why would they want to protect me? So, if I love someone, I'm going to show that love, and hopefully that love is enough to show them and they feel loved so that they want to protect me, right? If I don't show love to somebody in a decent way, they're going to be less inclined to naturally have the instinct to defend and protect me. And same for women. If a woman doesn't love a man and he dies, she'll go on and get another one. Like, real quick. She's not even going to mourn at his funeral. So, if a woman doesn't love a man, she's not going to protect him. Tons of gold diggers, they want that money. They don't really care about protecting him. They're protecting their wallets. They're going to get the bag. So, her framing of it is suspect to me. What a terrible person. I really don't like to say that, but I have really gone into her work word for word, annotated, really examined her ideas, and this is the type of person who you don't want around your daughters. If this woman was a teacher and she's trying to propagandize your children, you better, as a Muslim, have some rebuttals ready, I'd argue. Let me know what you think, and if you'd like to support my content, you can do so via the blog. I post a lot of stuff on there as well that others don't get to see, and I'm still fundraising for the durable, adjustable book holder and the wooden privacy panel. That is also very stable, because kids, when they're running around, it can't be something that's, okay, it breaks and now I have to go take it to the junkyard and have it processed. That's quite an cumbersome thing, to load it into the back of the truck and drive all the way there and pay for it to be processed. When something that's more durable and repairable is more lasting. That's the kind of person I am. And so those kind of things cost a little bit more, and I don't want to put something on the credit card. So if you can help out with that, it'd be great. And take care. I hope you like this reading.